started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Lost Mine podcast. I am once again joined by my lovely co-host, Lucas Oldale. How are you doing today, Mr. Lucas?
I'm doing pretty good. I have, I don't know. This week I've not played enough Pokemon to justify a podcast, so I grinded it today. But, we're here. Got the
My
information
man's
ready.
is doing his homework like a good lad.
50-50.
50-50. Well, I'm doing very well, Lucas. I'm on my last day in Halifax here. Went over to Peggy's Cove, checked out some of the lovely rocks over on the coast there in Halifax, or Nova Scotia, sorry, just outside of Halifax. Yeah, I did happen to go to a league last night, though, here in Halifax.
I was about to ask you that. How'd that go?
It went very well. I went 3-0 with Chen Pao. I didn't catch the memo that Paradox Rift was legal for this, even though it's not actually legal till tomorrow or the day this podcast is going up. Everyone else was playing the Paradox cards, but I just played normal Chen Pao with the Cross Switchers clones, the kind of classic list that's been doing well this format, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a good deck. I even got to buy the Iron Hands and the Earthen Vessels with the prize money from winning the tournament, so it worked out quite well.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you can't really get much better than that. Okay.
No.
Well, so speaking about decks that we played to locals, I played Charizard to a Obsidian Flames local last night. It was a League Cup.
You?
It was a League Cup. And I actually ended up winning that League Cup.
Very good, sir. Congratulations on your recent W.
Thank you. I will say, though, I did not deserve that win at all. I had 2 games where I should have lost. I should have lost. I should have gotten absolutely swept, but I got lucky about 2 games. Miraidon opponent didn't hit. Oh, sorry. Miraidon opponent didn't hit a single electric generator the entire game. Never played
That's
one.
what happens when you play Miraidon, bro. That's what happens. It's part of the experience.
Yep. That it grows you. It makes you grow. Okay. So, segueing here, I want to talk about our top 3 decks for the week. I'm going to quickly open up my Google, and I'm going to... Oh, no. Messed it up. Sorry. Messing it up.
Here,
oh,
Lucas.
no. Okay.
I'd also like to say just kind of what we're doing today. LAIC is obviously taking place the day this podcast is going to be going up. So today we're going to be talking about if we were going to LAIC, kind of our top 3 picks each, which Lucas was just talking about. And then we're going to do kind of like some meta predictions for LAIC. Check what each of us think the top 5 decks will be for day 1, what they will convert to top 5 decks for day 2, and then kind of our guess on what's in top 8, maybe like a couple over-enders on some common tech cards, something like that. So, sorry, Lucas, take us away with your deck list you were about to talk about.
You are good. So, I think my number 1 deck still is Charizard. I think this deck is very, very strong. It doesn't fit my playstyle very well. It's not, I don't know, it's not super quick, but I like it as a deck in general. I don't know, it's weird. I'm enjoying it, and it's very, very strong. I like being able to take a hit with my 330 HP stage 2 and then Turo it immediately. That's one of my favorite
activities. What did I say?
activities.
I told you Turo was in my top 5 cards from Paradox Rift, and I said exactly why I liked it in Charizard.
Yeah. James got me. Sick. James Sims, Professor Pokey on the Twitter.com got me on. I don't know. I'm not sponsored, I guess. He got me on the double Turo scenario.
Turo's great.
Oh yeah, I think the card's very, very strong. This is James's list from Tournament of Doom, but I would make a few changes. Right. We couldn't get our exact lists because live was glitching out today, so the only changes that I would make to this list is instead of 2 Jet Energies, I would play 1 Jet Energy, and instead of 2 Charmeleons with Heat Tackle, I would go down to 1 Charmeleon with Heat Tackle, and I play a Toad Cool and a Toad's Cruel for the Chen Pao matchup.
Ooh.
So
broken.
I'm also thinking of a Toad's Cruel EX for the Roaring Moon matchup, but that's for a different day. I'll test it. I think my Charmander split is 1 different. I do not play 3 Heat Tackle and 1 Blazing Destruction Charmander. I play 1 Heat Tackle, 2 Blazing Destruction, and 1 of the promo Charmander that does 40 damage for 2 energy and discards an energy.
Yeah, that's the one we talked about last week. That's one of the good Charmanders.
Oh, for sure. So a couple of the cards that were cut off here is the list plays 1 Counter Catcher, 1 Lost Vacuum, and 7 Fire Energies, as well as 2 Jet Energies. But with the change, I play 1 Jet Energy. I was trying out 1 Rare Candy this week. I don't really like it, but I'm going to try to add another one, but the list is just so tight that I decided to try it for this week. It wasn't the worst, because you set up your Charmeleons and then you can passively set up other Charmeleons while you're attacking with Charizard. But, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Charizard fan too. I think this would be my second pick of how I was going to say top threes. I would play a couple different. I'd be all the way down to 2 Charmeleons. I like the triple candy 2 Charmeleon because I found my team evolution was basically always getting Charmeleon Bibarel. But maybe that's just me playing wrong. But we did talk about Charizard quite a bit last week. The double Turos is something that's cool. I like the double boss counter catcher. This list is good.
Yeah.
The Vengeful Punch is kind of fun,
This is very strong. So,
yeah,
I lessened the amount of tech cards in the deck. Okay, so moving on. I have... Oh, what?
Tina.
Sorry. No, this isn't working. Okay, you're gonna have to cut this out. I don't know what's going on.
It's fine. It's fine. He's broken the computer.
Bro, what? Bro,
I see it.
What'd I do?
Okay, maybe I will actually edit this out at this point.
Oh, okay.
Homie broke it.
Is
it fixed now?
I think I fixed it, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, just cut out the part where I say Charizard. I cut the text out, and then I'll just say it again right now. Okay. So, yeah. I just, this list was a lot less teched out than the one that I had last week. I'm not playing the Delphox V, all that kind of stuff. But moving on, I would next like to talk about Giratina. I think this is a
good deck.
I think Giratina is very strong. I think Giratina is a very sleeper pick for LAIC. This deck is...
People love to hate Tina.
Yeah.
People love to hate it.
I don't know why. This deck is very strong. So, couple automatic things that were getting pointed out is the 3 VIP pass in this deck. You play 3 Battle VIP pass, and this is a list from my good friend Magui Master. They won a tournament this week with it, and I asked them about it, and they said that 3 VIP pass was surprisingly good. So if the person, I'm gonna try out this list. I've been trying it, and seems pretty cool. Seems pretty good. I enjoy min-maxing, so being able to, cut down to 3 VIP pass and play something more valuable is always amazing. So if it works out consistently and your list is still consistent, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't play the VIP pass. So I'm going to continue to try it this week. And yeah.
Something stinky with this list, Lucas.
What?
There's 3 jet energies in here.
Yes. So there's 3 water energy and 3 jet energy. Something that I would consider cutting is I would either consider going down to 2 path and playing 4 jet, or going down to 2 water and playing 4 jet. 4 jet is one of the best cards in Giratina. I don't know why everyone hates on it. It's so good. It's absolutely one of the better things you can play in Tina. Landon, what do you think?
I like Tina. I think it's got some good matchups. I think it's probably the Lost Zone deck that is least affected by Jirachi. You still have the big beat stick game plan of Tina. Obviously, Jirachi is still going to be annoying for you, but you are technically able to counter catch or kill it if it's really that much of an issue. But yeah, Tina is a good brute stick deck. It's got the Roxanne path to fall back on. Jet Energy was a huge consistency boost for this list with previous sets introduced, and then counter catcher is a huge buff for the deck, just being able to, like we've talked about previously, catcher plus path plus Roxanne, do all this in the same turn really helps your disruption.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest strength of this deck, yeah.
Yeah, we used to play Cross Switcher because of how good that effect is, so...
And it's nice you're really gaining 2 spaces. It's a lot easier to pull off than 2 when you can just play 1 item. So yeah, I really like Tina. I think it's probably... I don't think it's the best Lost Zone deck per se. I like the traditional Lost Zone decks a little more right now. But I do think it's the least affected by Jirachi of the Lost Zone decks. That's my opinion on Tina. Definitely think it's a strong deck that you should be looking out for this weekend in LAIC, and something that Lucas would definitely be considering. Not myself, but I don't hate on the deck at all. It's just something I wouldn't want to be playing right now.
I'll get him on Tina for San Antonio. Don't worry about it. Next up is Roaring Moon. So this is my number 3.
Yeah, this is my number 3 as well. So I guess we can talk about this together. We've talked about Roaring Moon quite extensively on the podcast so far, so maybe we can just stick to maybe some differences of this list and what you'd be playing, like any cool tech cards, maybe like that Cologne there that you'd want to have in your deck this weekend.
Canceling Cologne is a very good card.
Yeah, I like at the beginning of this format, people were clowning on everyone that was like, "Oh, you can't hit the double energy switch attach play with the Greninja." But now it seems like almost everyone playing Roaring Moon is playing water energies because they've realized that Greninja is just so good, and you're already playing it, and it doesn't really hurt you that much just to play a couple waters. So
Yeah.
we're now leaning into clone at this point. So we've gone from people thinking Greninja is bad and not worth it to now we're playing cross switch or clone in the deck. So
I will say this was the only well-placing list I could find on Play Limitless that played the clone. But I think we should be giving it a lot more respect. I think decks are not equipped to compete with Greninja Cologne at this stage in the metagame after the amount of disrespect we've seen Cologne Greninja get in this format. You know, Greninja, like, Chen Pao used to play, that was the best card in the deck. Cologne Cross Switcher was, like, the entire reason you play Chen Pao. But now, you know, we're cutting it for Iron Hands, and you're going to see later on, I think next deck list, I have a Chen Pao list with Iron Hands and Cologne, because I think Cologne is one of the biggest sleeper cards in the entire format right now.
yeah, no, it's definitely nice. The Greninja Cologne combo is like so disruptive to especially things like Gardevoir. It's really good against things like Lost Box. Take out their Comfies, take out their Curlias. It really helps with engine things that are trying to protect themselves with Manaphy.
Yeah. I would like to say, real quick, that the cards that I cut off on accident are 7 Dark Energies, 3 Water Energies, and 1 Switch card. So keep that in mind.
I think once you're starting to lean into Cologne, playing the 3rd Water feels a little better. Like, without Cologne, would probably just still play 2 Water. Even just the threat of the waters making them bench the Manaphy is enough of a disruption sometimes. Yeah, like making them fill a bench spot is a lot of upside just for benching your thing and showing them a water energy. But the Cologne is kind of sick. I'd be curious how often you can hit it, but I mean, you can play the Cologne earlier in the turn and then hit the switchers or the boss after. So I definitely could see it happening, especially with the Pokestops. I haven't tried the Cologne myself. It's not in my list or what I would be playing for this weekend. But Clone is definitely an option that if you can pull off is going to be very strong.
Yes, the only changes that I would think about for this list is I would probably cut, I'd probably cut like a gear for a 3rd trekking, or maybe I would keep the double gear because Professor Sawdust is that good of a card. But I really want 4 trekking shoes in this deck if I'm playing Cologne and I'm trying to dig through my deck for that Cologne.
Like if you're trying to be more of a combo thing, and like you can even maybe see people going up to 2 Cologne if they want to get crazy in this deck. I don't know. Roaring Moon lists, I think most lists will start ironing themselves out after this weekend when we see results at a bigger tournament. That's usually how it goes. Meta kind of forms around that, but I guess we'll have to see if the Cologne is in the majority of Roaring Moon decks or not, or if in any at all. I don't know.
I think it will not see enough play for how good.
Maybe the thing we should say: watch out for the clones this weekend if you're in Brazil. But I don't think you should be expecting your opponents to be having it in the Roaring Moon, unless we start seeing like a group of players that are pretty well known starts to all be playing the same list with double Cologne, cross switchers, and the Roaring Moons or something. Then maybe be concerned, but. So those were your top 3 decks. Mine were quite similar. The only one... Oh, do you?
I have one more.
Oh, you had an honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Right? It's Chen Pao. I'm so sorry. But yeah, honorable mention, Chen Pao. This deck is so good. If I was to pick a list for Chen Pao, I would be on something close to this list. I love that we're just taking previous format Chen Pao and putting it into a Iron Hands combo deck.
Yeah, the Iron Hands is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and you still play the 1 copy of Cologne. You still play the 1 copy of Earthen Vessel. Those were the only 2 cards I on accident cut off. But, the 1 Cologne really changes this deck. You can grab it off Irida, you can grab it off Pokestop. It's much easier to find in this deck than it is in Roaring Moon. But it's so good. You guys have to be adding Cologne to your decks, man. I don't know why people cut it.
I tested last night just a couple games on live with the Chen Pao list that I won league with. I slotted in the Iron Hands and took out the clones. And without the clones, I did not feel like I was very advantaged into things like Gardevoir or anything like that, because you take the extra prize cards like the Greninja does, but then you're not taking the board apart like Greninja does. So having the clone play really helps you like kill double Curlia or kill double Comfey or something like that. Kill double Charmander or whatever.
Yeah.
That the Iron Hands doesn't quite do. You get the extra prize card, but things can respond to the Iron Hands. Moonlight Shuriken a lot of the time just makes it so they can't respond because their board is so destroyed. So having the option is huge, and I don't think I'd play this deck without Cologne right now.
Yes. I will also say that your Sablezard matchup becomes so sick because
True.
you go Moonlight Shuriken, the Manaphy, and another thing. They go attack with something. If they don't bench Manaphy, you Greninja again. If they do bench Manaphy, you gust the. You can gust the Manaphy and Iron Hands it, and then they have to hit it over and over and over again, and it's so sick. And then you end up looping it with the Super Rod for the Iron Hands and the Greninja. It's
I honestly, last night when I was playing, I mean, keep in mind I only played like 3 games. The Iron Hands does not even feel very good. I want to put more testing on the Chenpao because I really enjoyed this deck pre-Paradox Rift, and I think when we're doing our metagame, I want to get your over-under on Iron Hands EX in top 8. We'll do that later in the episode.
Yeah.
Because just with my short amount of games, I'm not super convinced the Iron Hands is even fully, like I said last week, fully required in the deck. Like, Cologne might just still better.
Yeah.
But my top 3 decks, I think we're moving on to that now. Lucas has them here. My number 1 deck that I'll be playing for this event is Gardevoir. This was something that was not super on my radar at the beginning of the format. I believe this is Celio Network's list. A little different than what I'd be playing, but this deck just has so many more options with the Screamtail. The Screamtail is broken, man. Like, you can see here, you don't need Zacian anymore, because Luxurious Cape plus Screamtail is just 360 damage, even to the active, and the Cape also makes your Gardevoirs do no damage. The Cape is super cool. And then having the option to go, again, kind of like Tina, Counter Catcher, plus Iono, maybe even Avery, we see in this list, and use the Screamtail to kill something on the bench while locking something active is a huge extra line this deck didn't have before. And a lot of the time, Guardy goes 2/2/2. Screamtail just makes you not need a boss if they don't have Manaphy. So in combination with the Avery there, plus the Counter Catcher, you can make some really new tricky plays with this deck that you did not have before.
Yeah, it offers a lot more plays. And I would also like to mention that the list we're looking at right now is a much more one prize based list. You know, we're seeing the 3 Gardevoir, which I'm a fan of that because they can't. I've always liked playing Gardevoir as you cannot kill my 2 prizer or else my 1 prizer will ruin you. So then you win the tempo like that. I did that at Portland Regionals in 2023, and then I would just Gardevoir. I would spam it. I would make it so that you cannot kill my Gardevoir EX, and having 3 Gardevoirs in the list is 3 baby Gardevoirs in the list makes it so that you can do that more consistently, which I'm a huge fan of.
I think I'm fine on the 2 Gardevoir still because you can just rod back them, and then you have the Screamtail, which is also just a 1 prizer that can blow something up. I do really like being able to cut Zacian. Having no 2 prizers aside from Guardy EX, you have Turo now, which is a super awesome addition to the list with the Palpad as well. Between the 1 of Collapsed and the 1 Turo, you can very frequently take the Guardy EX out of play and have it back again for next turn, so they can't take a 2 prize knockout on you. Like, being able to Counter Catcher plus Turo up your Guardy EX, take the 2 prize knockout, and then they have to go on 1 prize, is really good. We've seen that before with Collapsed away your Guardy, but we just have an extra addition now.
Yeah.
And then you still have Cresselia, you're still Lost Box is going to go down and play. You could play Jirachi if you felt really scared about that matchup, but that matchup was already pretty even with just Cresselia and some other tricks, but especially with the Turo now too. And the Cape, I guess, as well. But Gardevoir has always proven itself to be a really powerful deck. I don't think it's really lost any matchups. It's gained things like Roaring Moon. Iron Hands is probably your biggest concern, but I'm pretty happy. Fine. Yeah, like, you have to high roll into it for sure. I'm playing 3 Candy in my list. I have the option of maybe hitting double Candy turn 2, going second into hands, but even then, if you're winning the coin flip into the Iron Hands deck and you're getting to Mirage Step or evolve into some refinements before they can use Iron Hands because they went second, then you're like already kind of 50-50 into Iron Hands anyways, just by the nature of a coin flip, right? So, I don't know. I don't think it's worth, like, I've seen people saying you have to play TM Evolutions because otherwise you can't keep up with Iron Hands, but Iron Hands isn't in every deck. They're not always going to hit turn 2 hands, and when they do, you can sometimes respond, but sometimes you also just lose games. Like, you can't win every match. I'm not going to dilute the power of my deck for maybe a card that sees play in as a one-of in some things.
Yeah. I agree. I think Gardevoir is super, super, super strong, you know, with Screamtail, like you were saying, and with the being able to remove the Gardevoir EX more easily now is absolutely insane. One big thing that we saw out of this format, though, is that lists are now no longer playing VIP Pass.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I haven't really missed it. This list really was leaning on the Mirage step. Like I was pretty consistently just going turn two step into the one prize things because you're less pressured to have a faster game plan. Not that you couldn't not put Zacian V in play, but having less of a two prize focus just lets you take the game just that little bit slower, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. With my couple games of Guardy that I've played in this format, I did not miss VIP pass at all. This deck is super consistent.
Yeah, no Mew notably here either because we're not playing VIPs. I mean, I'm not convinced that I wouldn't be playing VIP. I haven't thought about it that hard because I'm not going to LAIC, but this is the style of list I've been testing. I think my list has cut the Zinnias for another worker, and then I'm playing 2 counter catchers and a third candy. Yeah, something like that. And this is pretty similar to this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Guardy's great. I'll be playing Guardy this weekend for sure.
Guardy is super good. So next deck that Landon wants to talk about is the same Charizard deck.
Yeah, same as our Charizard list. We talked about it already. My differences here would be I'm a 2 Charmeleon guy playing 1 TM Evolution and a couple more rare candies. Then change a couple of counts around, but overall list looks pretty similar. But this deck, 330 hit points, a lot of hit points. We got the double Turos here. Heal them up. You're gonna beat those trades. Like you can beat Roaring Moon pretty easily with some tricky boss and counter catcher plays. You just have a lot of good matchups with this deck. It's pretty hard to get through 3 Charizards for some things, so you make them do it. And especially when you're healing, it's a lot more threatening that 30 hit points when you're offering heal as an option for the deck, which we did not see before. And Charizard was already quite good, so I've seen some quite decent buffs for the list and deck archetype in general. So
yes, counter catcher was also an insane gain for this deck.
Yeah.
You automatically now play 7 gusts.
Yeah, you're planning on TM evolutioning every game, so you're pretty much always going to be the one losing at the beginning of the game. So counter catcher is pretty much always live, unless they're having a slow start. So
yeah, and if they are, then you're winning anyway.
Yeah.
So
and then same thing with the Roaring Moon. I probably wouldn't be playing Cologne. I like the Moltres V still. I'd probably just play my exact 60 from last week, but we didn't pull that on the screen because we don't need to look at 5 million deck lists.
Yeah. So yeah, I like the Cologne. I'm gonna test the Cologne. So that is all for the top decks for us this week. We are going to. We would typically. This is where we would put the sequencing segment, but we could not. With the live glitch today, we could not find any good sequencing things for this week. Like the one that we had planned for this week was super obvious.
It was just a refinement 3 times. And then Chris Elliott. So yeah, we were planning on doing a sequencing segment this week. Next week we might try something a little different too to make it a bit more interactive, but we just weren't able to, with the time we had today, get it out. So this week will be a Sans sequencing segment, unfortunately, but it will be back for every other episode moving forward.
Yeah, sequencing segment will return. So next up, we are going to talk about the expected meta for LAIC.
This is, we'd like to clear this up, though. This is, for me at least, I don't know about Lucas, I definitely looked at data and matchups and everything, but this is more of like a personal, my feelings on the metagame, how things are going to go. We each have prepared our top 5, what we think will be day 1 meta. And then we're going to sync what we think the top 5 in day 2 will be with the conversion rates, and then we're going to give just our estimates on what we think is in top 8, and maybe some fun predictions on like what's going to win and over-unders on things like that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So, I think the most popular deck going into day 1, I think Landon agrees with me here, is Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon is the new Miraidon. Everyone loves their good 2-prize beat stick decks. And Roaring Moon does that best, you know? I wouldn't expect Cologne in your Roaring Moon lists, but this is a 60 that I would highly consider for the tournament. Because I really like the Cologne. But yeah. So...
Yeah, Roaring Moon is gonna get a lot of those like people that were playing Miraidon before. Just it's not, I don't want to say an easy deck to play, but when you're newer to the game or you haven't had enough time to practice, picking up something like Lost Box, Kyogre, or Gardevoir, or Chen Pao with all that sequencing can be quite difficult and daunting. But when you can just kind of level out the playing field, play something a little simpler that's just going to brute force through your opponent, and you don't have to think about it as much, a lot of people are attracted to that kind of deck and play style. So I think that's going to contribute. Yeah, no, I've done it before for events too. Like when I played Portland last year, I just picked up Arceus because I wasn't testing a lot, and it worked out quite well. So playing a simple deck is not going to affect your win rate as much as playing a deck that is not something you're prepared to play, like something you haven't tested or had time to do. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will be in that boat. The deck isn't just for newer players, though. It's definitely got merit to play if you're an experienced player as well. Just having that pretty close to, I don't want to say guaranteed, but heavily favored to hit going attack going second, aggressive deck like that is something that always exists in the game and is always going to be strong, just because you're putting people on the back foot from the start. So
yeah. That's Roaring Moon's specialty, and Roaring Moon is in my opinion, Roaring Moon is a Miraidon on steroids, because
I felt the same way.
Yeah, because Roaring Moon is now your Miraidon and your Raichu.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it, that Miraidon does have a space to exist just because of Iron Hands EX. I'm pretty sure words came out of my mouth that said that Roaring Moon is just better than Miraidon, but I don't think that's the case the more I think about it. Having Iron Hands is quite a bit of upside. Onboard acceleration like Flaffy is definitely something that's cool.
Yeah.
But Roaring Moon, I think, is definitely a better deck than Miraidon at this point. But I don't think that Miraidon is off the table, as we might talk about a little later.
Yeah. If you're playing Miraidon, I would heavily consider putting a DTE in your deck to make your turn on Iron Hands much more easy.
That's true. Or even like a Super Rod, so your later game generators can hit a little better too. That might be a little bit less of a direct tech in for the Iron Hands, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think Roaring Moon has the snipe option with Greninja. It has the crazy aggression. It just has everything that it needs to be the number one deck. I don't really see how. I mean, it definitely couldn't, but I think it's the most likely to be number one. And then maybe Lucas, what do you think? Like a rough percentage? I think Roaring Moon might be 13% of day one. What's your prediction? Just so we have an actual number out there.
I'm going to say 14% of day
14%. Got to show me up a little bit. Okay,
Yep.
I like it. So next week, I just want these numbers so we can like look back at it and see how close we were.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're professional podcasters now.
We're trying our best. We're trying new things. So my number two for day two is not Gardevoir. Is yours Gardevoir?
Yes. I think my number one I think my number two most played for day one will be Gardevoir. I think this deck is very good. All the good players have a good chance of playing Gardevoir because they realize, this deck is good into Roaring Moon. It's a fun deck to play. It's good into Lost Box. It's okay into Lost Box. Your Miraidon matchup, is pretty good if you can deal with the Iron Hands. Like I said, the Roaring Moon matchup's really good. Zard matchup is favored, and that's a very big deck. So a lot of the top decks right now are being a bit countered by Gardevoir, and if you can play it well, then there is very high merit to playing this deck to the tournament.
Yeah, I think Guardy's kind of traditionally always been like a 50-50 or better deck into most things. Maybe a 45, but if your play is tight, you can bring those percentages a little closer. Like, I think Gardevoir is one of the decks that top players will definitely gravitate towards into this event. That's why I'm putting it up as number two. It's been in that top three decks in past regionals as well, so it's not unheard of. And there's some new buffs. Only real challenge is Iron Hands. So I think Gardevoir was definitely a little underlooked into and kind of continues to be underlooked into going into the weekend. But I think some people are definitely going to capitalize and it's going to do very well this weekend.
Yes. So my number three is Charizard, the one that we talked about above.
Right.
I think this will be the third most played deck.
I think, just for reference, I have them in the opposite order. Gardevoir is my number three, Charizard's my number two. I think they're going to be within 1 or 2% of each other, so not a huge difference. But yeah, sorry, continue.
We forgot. I think Gardevoir will be 8% of the meta.
Oh yes. I'll give it 11. I think it's going to be 11.
Dang! Wow, breaking the 10% barrier. Okay. So that means you think Charizard is 10% then? Or 12%?
No, I think so too. They're all usually within a percent of each other. Like 13, 12, 11 is my guess for top three. They're usually all around that 10 to 15% for those top three. So I don't think I'm too crazy with that. But go ahead with Charizard.
So we've explained about Charizard. It's a 2-prize beat stick deck, but you gain a lot of HP. You have the Turos, and then you have the 1-prize option of Radiant Zard to just swing your prize races into your favor. Into those Roaring Moon matchups.
We've seen Zard be in the top three in the last few regionals as well. I think with the new tools it gains, there's already existing Zard players. I've also seen, just on Twitter, a lot of Arceus V-Star enjoyers, such as myself, have been kind of switching to Charizard because it feels like a bit of a similar playstyle, getting energies out of the deck, charging up your 2-prize beat stick kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of room for people to switch to Charizard that weren't playing it or continue playing it just because it hasn't really lost anything, and it's just more so gained options. So
yeah, I think Charizard is a very, very strong pick for the weekend. You know, with the
And
Vengeful
what's
Punch,
your-
your Gardevoir matchup isn't even that bad.
Yeah, the Vengeful Punch is cool. I think that Guardy is pretty... You can expect Guardian not to be playing Lost Vacuum at this point, where it was pretty much an obvious one of in most lists last format. Not obvious, but it was definitely a common tech that probably won't be around that much right now, just to start the format.
Yeah. So my estimated percentage is I'm going to throw a 7%.
7%. Your percents are really low. I feel like you're undershooting everyone except the first one. You were pretty high for Roaring Moon, but I'm curious to see how that comes back. So let's see. Recap. I'm 13% for Roaring Moon, 12% for Charizard, and 11% for Gardevoir. I'm going to write this in my notes here. So I'm going to say 13% for me. What'd you say?
I said 13. I said 14% for Roaring Moon.
14, and then we got 7 for Zard, you said?
I'm actually going to bump it up to 8.
8%. And then Gardevoir, we said, what did we say for Gardevoir?
I said 8%.
8, and I said 11. Okay. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Giratina. So I think that this deck is... Oh, my bad. I think this deck is very, very good. I think it's, like I said, very sleeper pick for this tournament. If you are going into LAIC with Giratina, I would hope that you submit 4 Jet Energy into your deck. I think 4 Jet Energy is so strong.
Yeah, I think Tina is... I think I had it... If I were going to do a 6th spot, it'd probably be my number 6. I think that traditional Lost Box variants, maybe the traditional like Dragonite V, Raikou ones, or the new Roaring Moon EX versions are going to be the more popular. Maybe Kyogre sprinkled in there as well. I think people have kind of just written off Lost Box, not totally, but have just kind of said, oh, people are going to play Jirachi and it's fine. Lost Box kind of sucks. But anyone that's done an amount of testing, I think realizes that Lost Box is definitely not dead. It's still a very strong deck.
You're not on the Lycanroc VMAX Terrakion Lost
Who
Box?
said that? What are you talking about?
It came second. It came second at Tournament of Doom.
Oh my god! No way!
And it played Abominable V2.
I'll have to look into that after this. I can't even fathom why you'd be playing Lycanroc VMAX in your deck.
I think it's so that you can do the 30 snipe and then also you can Sableye things to 60 HP and then get it with the hunt. It's good. Broken deck. No,
I don't know. I'm a Lycanroc VMAX hater, but
yeah,
about Tina, yeah. Tina's just a strong deck. I think the biggest thing that's held it back in the past is just consistency issues. Nothing really is going to change here. The deck is pretty much the same, just add counter catchers, so that weakness is going to persist, I think. But if you're playing the deck well and you're drawing pretty decently, you're going to make a deep run into the tournament. Yeah. We've seen that happen in the past. We've seen it be a top deck in the past. I don't think it's really gone anywhere. Like I said earlier, I think it's the least affected by Jirachi of any of the Lost Zone decks. But for my number 4, where did we got Miraidon here somewhere?
Yeah, we do have that somewhere. But I would like to mention my number 5. Wait,
your number.
Forgot. What's the percentages?
Oh yes, for Tina, I'm gonna go for a 6% Tina.
I'm going for 6 as well.
What? It's your number 4 deck. It's your number. You think it's the same percentage, but have it at number 4.
I mean, I don't know, because I've said 8% for Gardevoir and 8% for Charizard.
It's true. I told you your numbers are low, but that's okay.
I way undershooted this. I think
We're 6. I think you are as well.
I changed everything. Gardevoir.
He's changing everything.
Gardevoir 11%. Charizard 10%.
I'm writing this down.
Gardevoir 11%. Charizard 10%, and then Giratina is going to be an 8%.
8. Okay, so I've got Tina at 6. So my number 4, I think, is going to be. I might be a little off with this one, but I'm saying Miraidon. I don't know where all the Miraidon players went from last format, but Miraidon was number 1 deck at Pittsburgh Regionals, I think. So it's been proven to be very popular. People want to play it. It's, again, kind of like Roaring Moon, one of those decks that's not super difficult to pick up and play. Kind of has a negative stigma, honestly, Miraidon players. Not that it should, but it does. And just gaining Iron Hands gives you another dimension, kind of helps you fight into those one-prize matchups a little more, like... Miraidon has definitely struggled into Lost Box and Gardevoir in the past, has been some of the weaker matchups, but having the Iron Hands to present really early against those decks as just a thing they need to answer is a new added dimension that you didn't have before.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Iron Hands definitely helps fix a lot of problems. I like that this 60 is playing the Super Rod. This 60 does play the Super Rod. I think that is very good because, like Landon said earlier, it lets your electric generators be more powerful in the late game so that you can set up your iron hands again, and that's invaluable sometimes.
Yeah, and then being able to combine Judge Path with the Iron Hands just puts another. And playing the Zapdos as well, 130. I don't know what it comes up to exactly, but I'm sure that being able to, 130 into a basic is going to come up to the Iron Hands at some point.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
And we've seen Miraidon be a consistent attacking deck before, and we've seen it literally win a regional a couple weeks ago. So I don't think it's really. People have just completely stopped talking about the deck, in my opinion. It's totally dropped off. It fell off more than Lost Fox. Like, I already think that deck's fallen off. But, Miraidon, I don't think it's really got that much worse. Maybe Roaring Moon's a bad matchup, but it's kind of a pick your poison between the two beat stick decks, which one you want to have. A little bit better matchups here, a little bit worse here.
Well, you could think about it like this. Think about it like this. If I attach a Bravery Charm to my Miraidon EX, then your Roaring Moon either has to hit the vacuum or it has to Frenzy Gouging. If you Frenzy Gouging, then I'm going to attack with an Iron Hands. With my Iron Hands having 230 HP means that you have to respond with the Frenzy Gouging. And so then you have to really high roll into the matchup, but you could theoretically hit that late turn, Super Rod Iron Hands, play and get 3 prizes on the last Roaring Moon.
Yeah. Like I said, I think Miraidon's a very good deck. I don't think people should write it off, but yeah, you're right. I don't think the Roaring Moon matchup's even gonna be like an auto loss, but
you've convinced me a bit. I'll try it out a bit, maybe.
Lucas was a Miraidon hater. When I said it was my 4th deck, he was like, "What? Are you smoking? Are you on drugs?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." Because all these Miraidon players, pretty close. Some of the Miraidon players will probably move to Roaring Moon, but I don't think all of them will. And I'm gonna say Miraidon is an 8% deck. What do you think? I'm running it down.
I'm going to give Miraidon a good 6%.
Okay, a 6. Perfect. And what's your number 5?
No. Chen-Pao.
Okay, Chen-Pao is also my number 5.
Yeah, I like Chen-Pao very much. I think the 60 is very good. Cologne is one of the best cards in the format, like we talked about earlier.
Well, that's a bold statement. Cologne is one of the best cards in the format. Okay. Quote Lucas Oldale.
Okay. It's a sleeper card. It's the biggest sleeper card in the format.
That's better.
It's a huge sleeper card. I think this list is very strong. I like the way that this list is composed so that we can fit everything into a Chen-Pao deck while having the Iron Hands. We haven't cut a Chen-Pao. We play the Cologne. We cut 1 Cologne, but it was fine. We cut a Water Energy. We added 2 Lighting Energy. We added an Earthen Vessel. We added an Iron Hands.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this list is fine. I think Chen-Pao, definitely was one of the top performing decks prior to Paradox Rift coming out. Now has that boost of potentially Iron Hands plus the Earthen Vessel package to get your Lighting Energies out. And Earthen Vessel can also help you reach into bigger Hailblade knockouts too if you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chen-Pao has existed in the metagame as one of the top decks. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I do think it's probably going to be floating on number 5. I don't think it's the best deck in the format. Definitely takes some good matchups into things like Charizard. You can present some trouble to Gardevoir with the Iron Hands. Chen-Pao is... I don't have much else to say. It's a strong deck that exists that has, again, also gotten buffs from the new sets. So definitely another thing to be watching at LAIC. This format... We only have 5 decks here, but this format's going to be wide open. You could expect to hit a different round every deck, or different deck every round.
Goldango!
No, get out of here with Goldango. No, I hate that deck.
Okay.
And then we don't have it here, but I just want to mention Oh, sorry.
7%.
7%. I'll go with that.
I'm betting.
I'll say 7. So you think that there's going to be? Yeah, okay. You think there's going to be less Miraidon than Chen-Pao. So I'm going to say 7% Chen-Pao. You're going to say 7 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. This is good. And then I just want to talk a little bit about Lost Boxes in general. I kind of talked about it a little bit with Tina. That's probably like my 6th, 7th deck. Lost Box is not gone. Don't be lacking against Sableyes. Play the Jirachis if you need to play Jirachis. Lost Box exists. Lost Box will very much be present in LAIC. A lot of top players, probably will bring Kyogre of some sort. Like, I would not be surprised to see a good Kyogre variant.
So you're saying that Kyogre is the best way to play it?
Yeah, I think Kyogre's like always been the best Lost Box deck, for sure. I don't know, it might be a little different now with Jirachi because you don't have that just automatic Sableye anymore. Something you kind of have to work for. But I think traditionally Kyogre's been the best way to win a regional with a Lost Zone variant, and I think it continues to do that going forward. So
yeah, I would
Kyogre's
say if I was to play,
Lucas has won a regional with Kyogre. Attest to me.
San Diego 2022. Okay, I played 2 Snorlax in that deck. That was not an ideal list. Okay.
Hey, you still won. Who cares?
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to say one thing about Lost Box. I think my top 2 Lost Boxes would be the Kyogre or it would be Sablezard. Sablezard is so good.
Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, you're right. I forgot to talk about Sablezard. Sablezard is very good.
Sablezard is a very, very good deck.
Watch out for Sablezard this weekend, friends.
Sablezard will see play. I would honestly not be surprised to see if one top cut.
Yeah, I could see one in top 8 as well, definitely. We saw one in top 8 with Mr. Terrence Miller, someone I do appreciate company with at events. We got top 8 earlier this year with Sablezard.
Sacramento. So. Okay, so as you can see on screen, smooth transition into day 2 meta. Wow.
Very good.
So, I think the number 1 deck in day 2 will be Gardevoir. I think...
Big agree. Gardevoir is the play for this event.
Yeah, I think a lot of Roaring Moons are going to fall off the face of the earth, and then...
You farm Roaring Moon with Gardevoir, it's like, buddy. Unless they sack you with Ninja Cologne, but...
Yeah, the Cologne! Okay.
broken.
Whoa, Cologne. Okay, so I like Gardevoir because it's, like I said, a lot of the good players are going to bring it this weekend. And the good players, will typically do well in events because they're good. And then they'll do good at the events because they're playing a good deck because they're good. So, yeah. So I think Gardevoir kind of it gets helped out a lot by the fact that the good players play it because it's a very strong deck. There's hard sequences in the deck. So the top players will gravitate to it, like you said earlier. And Gardevoir is also in an amazing spot in the meta. A really good matchup into Why I say Chenpao? Really good matchup into Charizard. Really good matchup into your Roaring Moons.
Yeah, you're gonna beat all the 2 Prizer decks. Like, you're gonna beat them. It's gonna be totally fine. Lost Zone decks have traditionally been one of your closer matchups, but you definitely have been able to beat them in the past. So I don't see why you can't do that moving forward. And yeah, Gardevoir. When the good players are playing a good deck, they're going to do good in the tournament. So I don't see why a Gardevoir will not convert very well to day 2. Yeah, maybe it won't be the number 1 deck because some of the less skilled Gardevoir players will get eliminated. But I think a lot of top players are going to be considering Gardevoir this weekend.
Very strong. Okay. I think number 2 will be Roaring Moon. Landon disagrees with me on this. Landon, I want you to
I didn't even have it initially on my top 5, so...
Okay, I want you to say your point here. Where did you put it?
I have it at number 4. You're probably right. It's probably going to still be in the top 5, but same thing as, like, Maridon hasn't had a great conversion rate in the past. Just these, like, simpler 2 prize beat stick decks that the less experienced players are going to play are going to have a decline in percentage going into day 2 because you could give a less experienced player any deck and they're going to do worse on average than the experienced players. And when the experienced players aren't probably going to be playing this deck as much as other ones, then I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to fall off. But I think I was a little bit silly to leave it off the top 5. I think number 4 in day 2 is probably a good spot for it because there's just going to be such a high amount of this deck that it has to convert somewhat. So
yes. So before I keep talking about this, we forgot Gardevoir. What percentage of it is in day 2?
Oh, day 2. I think Gardevoir goes up to like a 16% day 2. I'm going to go a little off the limb here. I think this is Gardevoir's tournament, but I might be wrong.
That's crazy.
What's you?
I'm going to say 14%.
14? Okay, so it increases by... For me, I'm increasing by 5% from day 1 to day 2, and you're increasing by 3. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm really excited to do this next week, see how good we are at this predictions thing.
Yeah, we're going to suck at this. So
Lucas,
I have a feeling I'm going to suck at this.
Lucas has Roaring Moon as number 2. I don't think we need to talk about the deck much more, but what do you have? Yeah, Cologne, consider Cologne. Go back, though. We didn't do our percentage. What do you think Roaring Moon's going to be?
So I said 14% for Gardevoir. So I think there's going to be a dramatic dip. So I'm going to say like 12% or 10%, 11% We're gonna even it out. 11%.
I'm gonna say 8% Roaring Moon day 2. I'm gonna go with a 5% drop. And you are saying what? 11?
Yeah.
10?
11.
11% day 2. So you're going from 14 to 11. Okay. So you're doing a 3%. I'm doing a 5%. So, and then what do you have as your number 3 deck for day 2?
Charizard. This deck is very good. This deck is.
All right. Let me. Okay. So your number 3 deck is Charizard. My number 2 deck is Charizard. Okay.
So yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't think Charizard really is going to budge. I think that it's a strong list. Top players have played, like Azul played, and his group played Charizard to an event recently, Toronto, I think. It's a good deck. It's gotten better. I don't think it's one of the ones that's really going to fall off because people have been playing Charizard for a while. It's not something they're just picking up for the first time. I think it's a strong deck that has showed that it has decent conversion rates in the past, and I don't think that's really going to change too much. So
yeah. If you are playing Charizard, I would consider playing, the Vengeful Punch. It's very
Vengeful Punch is cool. I know that Ken is someone that we hang out with a bit. He's one of our friends from Vancouver area. That he's been playing Vengeful Punch in his Charizard list since
he's been playing that for
Obsidian
a long
Flames.
Time.
He's been on the Vengeful Punch for a while. So maybe we should talk to Ken about how he's been doing with it.
Didn't he think about playing? He thought about playing Vengeful Punch in.
He had it in his Pittsburgh list when he was gonna play Charizard, but I told him to play Lugia. So he played Lugia instead. He was also playing Vengeful Punch in Lugia.
Wow.
He likes that card.
He also played Luxray in Lugia, right? For Charizard?
Yeah, that was sick. He had a sick list. But anyways, what's your percentage for Zard in day 2?
Okay, so I said 11% for Roaring Moon. I don't think this is very far off. I'm gonna say 9%.
I'll agree with you. I'll say 9 as well. I said 12. Yeah, I think it will drop off a little bit going into day 2. So I'm going from 12 to 9. You're going from 10 to 9. And then your number 3 was Charizard, right?
Yeah. So
my number 3 is Lost Box.
Okay, explain it.
I don't think we have a list up here because there's so many different things varying. But I think Lost Box is just, again, one of those decks that top players bring. And like I said earlier with Gardevoir, when top players bring a deck, they're on average going to do better. And Lost Box has a lot of lines to correct for. I don't know. I feel like Lost Box is one of the decks you have a lot more control over each game with. And that's something that top players really gravitate towards. Being able to come back from like a 4-prize deficit with Kyogre. You're in a lot of games that other decks just wouldn't be in after falling behind X amount of turns, right? So I think Lost Box just has a lot of options. Obviously, Jirachi and Iron Hands can be a bit tough, but I would not be surprised to see a lot of Lost Box at top tables throughout the tournament, just in general.
Yeah.
As it kind of has always been at top tables since it came out, and I don't think that's really going to change just because of a tech card that some people might be playing.
Yeah, and if it does well at LAIC, then I think it'll drop off a bit because of Jirachi. Jirachi is going to be in a lot of decks if it does well at LAIC, but I agree. I think Lost Box will see a lot of play. I forgot about Lost Box when I was making this list. I think Lost Box would probably be probably the same as Zard, or close to the same as Zard.
Yeah. 9. I'm realizing that my 16 number is huge, but I'm sticking with it. Lost Box 9% for you said?
Yeah, I'll say that.
I'll say 9 as well. I think there's going to be a lot of 8 to 10%ers like the Charizard, the Lost Box you have already. We already said Roaring Moon. You had that as your number 2. I had that as my number 4.
What do you think?
What was your number 4?
My number 4 is Chen Pao.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, I like that.
Talk about this. Before we talk about that, what is your predictions for Lost Box in day 1?
Lost Box in day 1, I think it's a day 1, maybe a 5 or 6% deck. I don't think it's gonna be huge.
Yeah, I agree. I'll agree with that. 6%. Let's write that down.
Yeah, I'll write that down. See how we're doing.
Okay, so day 2, I think the 4th most played deck will be Chen Pao. I'm keeping it very similar, but I like Chen Pao a lot. Player clones, that's all I gotta say pretty much on this one, because we talked about this 1,000 times already this episode. So yeah, Landon, do you have anything else to write?
No, I think Chen Pao's my number 5. I think all these top decks, once we got past, I think Gardevoir is by far my favorite thing. Once we get past them, they're all pretty interchangeable. Even Gardevoir is probably pretty interchangeable than these decks. Day 2 is more just what groups bring what, who's drawing hot with what deck, and what was just the best thing that lined up into the metagame, right? But
yeah. So yeah.
But for percentage wise, for Chen Pao, what do you got?
30%.
30%?
No.
What?
Okay.
This guy's smiling.
So wait, what percentage did I say for I said for Charizard I said 9, right?
Correct.
So I think for Chen Pao I will say
I'm giving Chen Pao an 8. I give Roy Moon an 8 as well.
I'm also gonna give Chen Pao an 8. Or maybe a 7 too. I don't know.
Okay. So to recap for day 1, we're gonna say Lucas will be. Oh, right. You have your number 5. Sorry.
My number 5 is Giratina. I think this deck is so good. I think this deck is so good. I
think Tina's good too. I have no hate on Tina. I just don't think it's going to be as popular as other Lost Box. Because look at players like Azul and all those guys always crap on Tina because they think it's the clunkiest pile ever. So those guys probably aren't going to be the ones playing it. They would be playing things like Turbo or Kyogre or Roaring Moon, those kind of things, I think, instead. So that's why I think Tina is going to be a little bit less popular. But tell me why you think it's number 5.
So I think it's number 5 purely because not enough people are respecting it.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're going to see in my top cut, I think 1 to 2 are going to make top cut. So I think that's the only reason that it's not higher up is because not enough people are playing it. This deck is very, very strong. I think this deck has answers to so much in the meta. You know, like let's say you hit Miraidon. You go first, Path of the Peak. Boom. Chen Pao, Path of the Peak. You know, you have Lost Box. You're just a Lost Box deck into that deck. You know, your Roaring Moon matchup, they have to Frenzied Gouging to KO you, and then you Sableye, knock out that, and then you put damage on another.
This deck is clean.
Yeah.
Just my biggest concern with Tina is like the clunkiness factor, because you can have all these excellent matchups, but then if your opening hand is poo-poo, then your matchup doesn't really matter that much. But that's my biggest concern. Yeah, like I'm not saying that the Jet Energies aren't broken.
Oh
this definitely works, but it's one of the lesser consistent decks in the format, and I think that reflects in its play rates a lot of the time. But I put Tina as 6% for day 2. What do you think?
I'm gonna go for 6% as well.
6%. Okay. So do you want to recap our percentages?
Real quick, you could add Cologne to this deck.
Stop, bro. You're like I'm playing 2 waters in my list.
Nah, if you play 3 water, Cologne, Gate, boom, 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 boom. Okay, yeah.
Cologne, Gate, Catcher, and
let's recap.
Okay. Well, for day 1, I have myself and Lucas have Roaring Moon as our day 1 number 1. So I have it at 13%. Lucas has it at 14%. We had Charizard as 12% and 10%, Gardevoir as 11% and 11%, Miraidon as 8 and 6, Chen Pao 7 and 7, Tina at 6 and 8, Lost Box at 6 and 6. So that's kind of our top 5 plus a couple honorable mentions. Obviously, there's lots of other decks like there's Mew and things like that.
Yeah, there'll be another honorable mention later on. It's Goldango, but you know.
No, it's not.
I literally have that on the list.
Do you actually?
Yes.
Okay, let's go honorable mentions, I guess.
Smoother transition in a top 8 meta, more WoW.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what do you have as you have predict there are going to be 2 in top 8? I agree. 2 Guardy in top 8, and I think Guardy's winning the event.
I think Guardy is doing very well. There's a chance it wins. For some reason, I'm not seeing it.
It's fair.
For some reason,
I mean, this is all just a theory we're throwing out into the air right now. So
I think right now I'm seeing, you know, for some reason what's the thing called where you read people's like senses, like auroras?
I don't know. You have a feeling. Just say you've got a feeling. You've got a feeling.
Nah, I have the psychic feeling that it's either gonna be Tina or Fusion Mew.
Yeah, I have Fusion Mew as one of in top 8 for sure. So you have 2 Guardy. You think Tina or Fusion Mew is going to win? What do you think the rest of top 8 will have?
Guardy could win. So I think there'll be 2 Gardevoirs in top cut. I mean, good players are going to do well.
Yeah.
They're going to make top 8 and they're going to hopefully win the event. And then I predict 1 to 2 Giratinas in top cut, but depending on meta share.
Yeah, I've got a strong 1 Tina in top 8 myself.
I think Tina's so good.
I think there will be 1 and 1 only, but I think there will be a strong 1 Tina in top 8. I feel confident that there will be 1 in there.
It's very good.
Okay, what do you got next in there, Lucas?
I mean, yeah, because Tina, you know, good deck. You know, you have
Tina's good.
You're a beat stick deck that plays Roxanne Path. Can't really go wrong.
Roaring Moon. I've got one Roaring Moon in top 8.
Yes,
I think someone will squeak in with it. I think someone has to, with all the people playing it. So someone's got to do the Roaring Moon justice here, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe they'll be the one to be playing Cologne. Oh no, where'd the...
I predict for there to be one in Top Cut.
Okay, we're back.
Messed all up.
Okay, chills.
I predict for there to be one in Top Cut.
What do you think's next? What's your next one?
I predict for there to be one Chen Pao in Top Cut.
I agree. I've got one Chen Pao in there, so we've got 5 of the 8. So I've got 2 Guardy, 1 Roaring Moon, 1 Tina, 1 Chen Pao. You've said the same so far.
Except maybe 2 Tina.
Okay, yeah, maybe 2 Tina.
But I'm going to swap that. I'm going to swap that. We're going to go 1 Tina, 1 Kyogre Lost Box.
Okay, yeah, I have 1 Lost Box as well. So I've got 1 Tina, 1 traditional, like Kyogre or Turbo or Roaring Moon or whatever. Yeah. And then what do you got next? We got Charizard. Yeah, I also think there'll be a Charizard in Top Cut. I think common thing we're saying, like, one of this. This meta is just super diverse, and there's, like, no real results to back it up off this. We were thinking about talking one of the Asian events that happened this weekend that had part of Paradox Rift legal, but we figured we'd leave it out because it's only part of it. So that's, like, the biggest real-life event we've had to base this meta off of, and other than that, we just have online results.
Urshifu won that event. Urshifu won that event.
I know. Yeah, like there wasn't. I don't think Roaring Moon was legal or anything. Like Golden Go was the only like newer deck that made Top Cut, right? Like the Tinas weren't even playing counter catchers or anything. So, But yeah, the point being, this meta is super wide open, and that's why we think there's so many different decks. But what do you have next, Lucas, other than Charizard?
1
and Mew.
Fusion Mew in Top Cut.
Yeah, so that's my top 8. I said. In my predictions, there's going to be 2 Guardy in Top Cut. There's going to be 1 Roaring Moon, 1 Tina, 1 Lost Box of a variety, 1 Chen Pao, 1 Zard, and 1 Mew. So that's my 8.
I agree. I'm going same 8.
Okay, so you've got same 8 as me, and I've got Guardy to win.
I think there's a good chance. I think Guardy goes top 4. I think Guardy goes finals. I think Guardy goes finals at least. But
you think what's going to win?
I don't know. It's either... I think it's going to be either Guardy, Fusion Mew, or...
You got to pick one, though. You got to pick one for next week. Like, who's right and who's wrong. One.
Oh... I don't know, man. I have no idea. I can't make a decision.
Just pick one. Boom.
Kyogre. I think Kyogre... It's Kyogre or Fusion. Kyogre or Fusion.
Kyogre... Okay, so we're saying Kyogre. You said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kyogre wins, and then... I think
or
I want to say,
what's your... Lost Fox wins.
Okay, well, you said Kyogre. I'm going to leave Kyogre. If it's Lost Box, then you can win by technicality. And then I think the last thing I'd like to say is just like your over-under on some of maybe the newer cards. Like, how many Iron Hands do you think will be in Top Cut? By this, it's 1. I think 1 is a good number.
Yeah, I think there'll be 1 in Top Cut.
1 Iron Hands, 1 copy of Iron Hands?
Well, maybe there might be 1 in Lost Box. I don't know. Nah. No way. I don't think so. I think there'll be one copy.
1 Iron Hands in top 8, and then how many Jirachi do you think will be in top 8?
0.
0 Jirachi in top 8? I'm going to say 2 Jirachi in top 8. So we got 2 Jirachi, you got 0 Jirachi, and then 2 more. How about Spiritomb? How many Spiritombs do you think will be in top 8?
1.
I'm going to say 1 as well. And then, can you think of any other techs that you might want to...
How many counter catchers?
Ooh, that's a good one. Counter catchers? Let me just look at these decks. So I think 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17 in Top Cut.
What? I said... I did not say 17. I said...
Oh, I thought you said 17. I was like, whoa. I'm going to say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to say 10 counter catchers in top 8.
Okay, so our list is we have 1 Fusion Mew, which will not play it. I think Charizard will play a copy, so that's 1. Chen Pao will play a copy, that's 2. I think Roaring Moon will not play a copy. Tina will play 2 copies, that's 4. Gardevoir will play either 1 or 2 copies. So I'm on
a strong 2 in Gardevoir right now.
I'm gonna say there's gonna be 3 in Guardy in total, so 7. So I think there's gonna be 7.
Okay, so you got 7, I've got 10. I always like to have a bit. I go for a little bit bolder. I'm saying the 10. Lucas got the 7.
I'm gonna be honest. I do not remember Lost Box 60s right now. Did they play Counter Catcher?
Some of them do. That's why I have the higher number. So
Okay,
you're
go
on
eight.
7. That's your number.
I'll go eight. I'll go eight.
No, no.
Eight.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll change it to 8.
Thank you.
I'll change it to 8.
Okay.
Okay.
One more thing.
So other than that, I think Lucas has one more thing before we go.
Smoothest transitions and the honorable mentions, even more wow.
Okay.
Goldango.
Oh my god, I hate this deck so much. You got the Rev of Rooms in here. What the heck?
I think it's
Explain
good.
yourself.
So Rev of Room is a one prize engine that does not lose to Path, even though not many decks are playing Path. It means that you have, you're synergizing well. You're discarding energy so that you can superior energy retrieval them eventually. You're drawing up to 6 cards, and then you're going to be able to Goldango. With 2 Goldangos in there and 1 in the active, you're seeing 9. With a concealed card, you're seeing 11. Maximum, you're seeing like 11 cards per turn. That's not including a supporter. Worker, so 14. And we're going to say you have 2 cards in hand before you Rev of Room. So you're at 12 cards in hand. 12 new cards. And then you're going to be able to go superior for 4, probably have some energies in hand, or an Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel, 6, 300 damage, boom.
I'm not denying that Goldango can knock out stuff, but it knocking out stuff is just not enough for it to be a viable game plan unless you got some tricks. But there's just no tricks. So,
there's no tricks. Call for family.
I have nothing else to say about Goldango other than what I said last week, which was quite unkind things. So
I don't know. I think Goldango, nice 4% in day 1.
4%? Okay. Well, we'll write that down.
Well,
4%
actually,
Goldango.
I'm going to go for 5. 5% Goldango. 4% Goldango. 4% Goldango.
4. I'm going to say 4 as well, just because some people are going to decide to play the deck for whatever reason. I think it'll be non-existent in day 2. Maybe like 1 or 2 people play it. I might be eating my words. I might be eating some cheese. It's Goldango after all. So,
how
did
the cheese stick brand not sue Pokemon for that?
For real. It's because Goldango's made of gold, not cheese, so it doesn't count, even though they look the exact same.
Yeah.
But anyways, Lucas, was there anything else you'd like to mention before we sign off today?
Not really. I think
I think we covered what we were trying to cover. I mean, obviously we missed a couple of decks. You can't get them all. But we wanted to more take a look at what we think is going to be the most popular, and then just some predictions to have some fun next week, because we're going to come back and analyze LAIC next week. Maybe some more stuff on top of that too, but it's kind of nice to compare to what we thought was going to happen to what actually happened. So fun little exercise, I think.
Yeah, that was nice. So yeah.
So Lucas, I have the rights to the outro this week. Next week we're going to be both in our home studios, as I called it. My room is my studio, so won't be in my girlfriend's room next week in Halifax. But like I said, we don't think there's anything else to say. So you have been listening to the Lost Mine Trading Card Game podcast. You will see us next week on Friday. This has been Landen and Lucas. We'll see you later.
See ya. Goodbye.